Tom Sparrow, unrestricted free agent, has the interest from South Australia, as we've mentioned. Melbourne's been confident that he'll stay. It's gone through the buy now, still hasn't re-signed.
Which means it's live.
Yeah.
That unrestricted free agent, as you say, 3 big letters, UFA. The D's have a 4-year deal on the table for him. I think there's a preparedness to get to 5 years as well. He has Port Adelaide circling hard, more so than Adelaide. There's also an interest in Victoria for him as well. He's an unrestricted free agent, so it makes sense that clubs would be asking the question. He's free.
Yes.
He's also having a really good year, so it's not hurting him in terms of his form. It hasn't hurt him at all. He's got a big decision to make. And look, it would be, if it was a big deal for him to leave the D's, which it probably would be, given the money on offer elsewhere, then the D's would still get a good compensation pick for him as well. Clearly, they want to keep him too. But I'm still giving this another month or so. Yep. Which means that we're hitting the latter stages of the year. Unrestricted free agents late in the season, you never really know, do you? Well, usually it's heading one way.
Certainly does. Toby Greene, another unrestricted free agent, weighing up the 3-year deal to stay at GWS or head to Geelong. The expectation from rival clubs has been that he'll move to the Cats at the season's end?
Yeah, I spoke to the Cats president in recent days, Grant McCabe, about him. He didn't give too much away other than saying that Jezza sure is hopeful that his old mate Toby Greene comes and plays at the Cats. Look, has the 3-year offer on the table from the Giants, also offer on the table from the Cats. The longer this goes, the more you feel like, and he's been far from, certain in his public utterings that he wants to stay at the Giants. He hasn't actually said that at all this year, that he wants to stay at the Giants. Beyond that, they've been comfortable playing it out and letting it go through, but I think it's tracking that way in terms of a Geelong-bound Toby Greene.
We're going to have a look at Lachie Neale's journey and how he ended up getting to where he is now. That's thanks to the Telstra tracker. So he was drafted by Fremantle with pick 58 out of Glenelg. He makes his debut early the next year for the Dockers. He was a substitute in the side's prelim and grand final of 2013. It was after that that he really started making a name for himself at Fremantle, though. Won 3 Glendenning Allen medals across his time at the Dockers. In 2016, he agrees to a 3-year deal at Fremantle and claimed the first of his 2 Fremantle best and fairest. He was contracted through until 2019, although with a year to go on that contract, he requests a trade to Brisbane. That deal goes through on deadline day and he becomes a revelation at the Lions. He wins a Brownlow medal in 2020. He's an All-Australian and a best and fairest winner in 3 of his first 4 seasons at the club. As we move along, he then tried, 2021, to get back to Fremantle at certain stages across the course of that year. That deal doesn't go through. He elects to see through his time at the Lions. He then signs a 3-year contract extension the year after trying to get to Fremantle. That takes him through to 2026. He's named co-captain of the Brisbane Football Club in 2023, wins the 2nd of his Brownlow medals, becomes a 2-time premiership player. We know what a star he has been for Brisbane. Now we get to the end of that 3-year deal that he'd signed, takes him through to 2026. And Cal, where does it sit for Lachie Neale?
And then he's speaking to every club out there nearly. So he's spoken to Collingwood, he's spoken to St Kilda, he's spoken to Essendon, he's spoken to Fremantle, West Coast, Adelaide also has interest in him. I still have Collingwood as the favourites to land him. So they're prepared to do a 3-year offer that's going to be lucrative. I still have them as the favourites, Riley, but this will get sorted without any issue as an unrestricted free agent. He could go out on a high as well with 3 straight flags. What a player he's been for them, what a pickup he's been for him, and what a trade it was originally to get him to the football club. And what a draft pick it was by the Dockers all those years ago as well. But his mind has changed a bit over time throughout this year. Yep. And that's when WA has been an option, South Australia has been an option. Victoria and the appeal of Collingwood, I think, is still pretty strong in his mind.
It has been a fantastic journey for Lachie Neale. That was thanks to the Telstra tracker. Jed Walter, the Bombers have heeded your call, Cal.
They have. Can we throw to a couple of weeks ago, please? They met with Jed Walter a few weeks ago, sold the dream hours after sacking Brad Scott. They've offered him a 5-year deal worth about $4 million. That's less than what Gold Coast has on the table for him in their 5-year deal. And I'm using him as the example here, but it could be anyone out of contract. They should be saying to that out-of-contract player, hey, we're going to pay you $350,000, $400,000 more than what everyone else is going to per year, but it comes with a catch. You're going to have to go through the pre-season draft. So it's time for them to get nasty on that front. Get nasty and get aggressive. They're obviously listening because they went from $800,000 to close to $1.2 million a season over 5 years. Close to $6 million that they're offering on the table now for Jed Walter. The Suns are still desperate to keep him, and rightly so. I think he's weighing up some shorter-term options with them. They've also got through a 5-year option to stay at the Suns. So I don't think he's absolutely gone by any means. And the Ben King decision as well has some play into it, but not all. I don't think it's necessarily a wait and see what Ben King does now, because he's got to make up his own mind about that. I think we're seeing enough from Jed Walter as a third-year forward to suggest that he's going to be a very good player.
Great.
This is a tough role. It's a tough gig for these players at that age. So, yeah, Essendon has thrown the kitchen sink at him, and for being aggressive and upping the offer by nearly 50% tick, whether it gets it done or not, let's wait and see. Just on Essendon as well, I think, we talk about their assistance package pitch. I think this is part of their thinking. If they could say to the AFL, we've got a player tucked away who wants to come, someone like Jed Walter, we need an extra pick to get it done. I'm not saying that an end of first round pick would necessarily do the deal, but I think if they could say it like West Coast did about Brandon Starcevich last year, then that would be their pitch to the AFL to say, hey, give us that extra pick. We can move that on for a deal and we'll still keep our own draft picks untouched.
Nick Murray is one of those Adelaide defenders that we've spoken about so often, contracted until 2028, but clubs have been aware that he might explore his options at year's end, depending on what happens with James Borlase, depending on what happens with Jordan Butts. There's a fair bit happening in that Crows defensive unit.
There are. So my understanding is that North Melbourne has spoken to Nick Murray about any interest he'd have in trying to get to the Roos. He's, as you say, contracted until the end of 2028, so 2 more years after that. That means the ball is in the Crows' court for that one. He's pretty settled in South Australia, so I wonder if Port Adelaide would have a look at him as well. I think he would look at that as an option if Port came knocking, because, as I say, very settled in South Australia, but also wants to play consistently, and there's a logjam in this key defender carousel just at the Crows, but North Melbourne certainly has flagged its interest in him.
What about Ben King? We've saved one of the best till last. Ben King on track for a Coleman medal, leads the Coleman medal at the moment, restricted free agent, has the 2-year offer on the table at the Gold Coast to stay. But geez, you don't know if he's going to sign a deal.
Well, I would say that Hawthorn is nearly the favourite in this race now. We revealed a few weeks ago that it was down to stay at Gold Coast or try and get to Hawthorn. So I think now the longer this goes, Hawthorn grow in confidence that he could be headed their way. And Gold Coast as well, the longer this goes, you'd have to say, after having looked like he was going to sign about mid-year when they were in Darwin, it just hasn't come to pass. So they would obviously, I expect they'd force a trade if it did go that way. In saying that, if he did leave at the moment, they'd get pick 6 in the free agency compensation. So you wait to see what that actually bounces out to be. I hope and expect Gold Coast wins a few more games in the back half of this year, back few rounds of this year. But that's where it sits for Ben King at the moment. I think from some way ago, his view was, can I get to Hawthorn and can it work? And Hawthorn believe that they can do Ben King and Zach Merritt and get both done this year. So there's a lot to play out there, but the longer this goes, a restricted free agent at this time of the year who's sort of backed out on the signing earlier this season when it looked like it was about to happen, you have to start thinking about a return to Victoria for him.
There's going to be so much to play out over the next 2 or 3 months for Ben King.